Hi, everybody. Well, I'm back with Dave Stone, my buddy, and today on Holy Foley, I'm Dr. Vanessa Ament, and I'm back with David Stone. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about another animated film. This time, it's one we both absolutely loved working on called Cats Don't Dance, which was released in 1997. And most people never heard of it, which is astonishing because it really is a wonderful film. Directed by Mark Dindal, it was his first directorial event, and it was produced by Turner Feature Animation, the one and only Turner Feature Animation.
When you see this movie, it opens with the Turner Feature Animation logo. You will never see it again.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the very specific sound in it. There's so many things about this film that are unique, special, and one and only. And it was an absolute delight to work on this film. I think for both of us, don't you think, Dave?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
From soup to nuts.
It shouldn't be that much fun.
Right. From soup to nuts, this film was joy. I will just start out by saying I worked with Rick Partlow and Rick Sanchez doing the Foley with one of my favorite Foley mixers, Karen Rulo, who is not mixing anymore. She studied and became our accountant because she's a brainiac. And we did the Foley at Warner Hollywood, which is now the Lot, and then I don't know what it is now, but it used to be the Goldwyn Studios. And it was soup to nuts, pure joy. And I also did some ADR editing on it, and which I'll talk a little bit about because I got to work with Natalie Cole for a brief moment. And the producer, one of the producers, Jim Katz, then asked me to cast and direct the group ADR on it. So I got to work with some of the most wonderful acting talent. We'll talk a little bit about that. You did most of the work as the supervising sound editor and designer for it. This was a magical time again. We've spoken about a goofy movie, but this was another magical moment. So why don't you start us off by talking about how this landed in your lap?
Oh.
Hello.
You start me off with an impossible question. I have no memory. I'm an old man.
Nor
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
All right. Here, I believe it's this. Okay. The work partner as a supervisor and sound designer was Mark Mangini. Mark has always been a big brand name in the business, and I have not. But I worked a lot of movies with him where he was hired, his company was hired, and I was asked by him to do the lion's share of the nitty-gritty supervising, pull the effects, design what goes where, hire the crew, manage the crew. So the baseball analogy would be he was the general manager and I was the manager in the dugout working with the players. So, and I'm very comfortable in that role. Cats Who Don't Dance, Mr. Jim Katz, knew Mark or chose to hire Mark. And Mark says, I'm busy on another picture. Can you fill in and do this thing? So we sort of shared supervising credits. I don't even know if they were credited if you looked on IMDb, but
who was credited?
I believe that Katz hired Mark. Mark brought me in, And most of the time I worked with cats and he was a very active and wonderful
Oh, he
producer
was wonderful. He's on it.
who
Yeah, he is credited.
joined us on the mixing stage all the time, had good ideas. He was a joy to work with,
He's a
Mr.
doll.
Katz.
He's a
I wish
doll.
I'd worked with him again.
Yeah.
So that's really how it happened. And it's such a special movie, and it was missed by so many millions. I think right at the beginning, I know you're going to want to talk about this. There's an opening title, opening or closing, I can't remember. The movie is dedicated to, quote, our friend and collaborator, Gene Kelly, unquote. Gene Kelly lived from 1912 to 1996. This movie was released in the spring of 97, so Mr. Kelly missed it. Never got to see the results. But it isn't common to have one of the great actor, writer, producer, choreographer, dancer, singer, movie stars producing animation. And I'm sure this was the only one he did.
Yeah.
But in fact, his familiarity with animation goes back to MGM, Dancing with Jerry the Mouse, and so forth. In, what was that, early 40s anyway?
Something like that, yeah. For him
So
to-
Kelly was no stranger to animation, and the idea was that he could choreograph some of these numbers and work with the animation directors under Dindal and get the characters to dance the way he wanted them to dance. So it's another reason this movie is very special. And you'll explain, I don't know if you have yet explained why people didn't get to see this only release from Turner Feature Animation. It's only release.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say, I just want to jump in about Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly did his own Foley.
He probably had, he must have been 80 something.
But on this show.
Oh, you mean typically he did? He
did his own Foley on his movies, but I did his Foley. I did the Foley for Gene Kelly's choreography in this film. And forever, I feel so excited and thrilled to know that I did the Foley sound, the Foleying, the dancing for Gene Kelly choreography on the only film.
You're the last Foley artist to do Gene Kelly's feet.
The only Foley artist ever to do Gene Kelly's dance stuff that he didn't do. And it's because he died. But he probably wouldn't have done it anyway because he was older. But that was such a thrill for me to know that Gene Kelly had choreographed it. And I got to do the Foley knowing that. And it's typical Gene Kelly style dance because it has to take place during the 40s.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be 1939 when I was reviewing
You're right.
I was reviewing the movie recently, and there are brand new marquees.
The very end of the Depression.
Yeah, there are marquees on movie theaters.
You're right.
In the movie, it's Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Gone with the Wind. It's 1939. You're right.
Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Well, no, it does matter. But the thing, because it's Depression era, it's at the end of the Depression, and there are homages to several films.
Oh yes.
All the way through the film.
Yeah, it's a nice dessert, this movie, for any fairly well-informed movie fan. And 1939 is arguably the peak of the great golden age of Hollywood. 39 would be the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be argued, but that's a fun aspect of this. But definitely these animals go to Hollywood at the peak of the power of the big movie industry factory, and that's part of the plot.
And there's I mean, we can talk about some of the characters, but I want to just briefly mention that Scott Bakula is the lead. And surprise of surprises, because you and I ran into him at Gelson's
in the grocery store. Yes, and wait, I had to chase him down an aisle.
At the time, we were working on the show at the time. Who knew that he was heck of a jazz singer?
Yeah, he was a great song and dance man, at least on the microphone. And I don't know if you remember this part of the story, but we chased him down a couple of grocery store aisles because he thought we were asshole fans who were
I
going to
know. He
annoy
didn't know
him.
who we were. We're going, no, 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 no. We're working on Cats Don't Dance, but he never did really get to talk to us because he thought we were going to be like, he
Well,
didn't
he was
know that
famous
we
for.
wanted to say, we're working on it, and oh my gosh, you are so good in this.
Mhm.
Because he
He-
is fabulous.
Since I was a little kitten, I had a dream. My name in lights, Danny the song and dance cat. I got on a bus and came to the town where dreams can come true. It's gonna happen for me. It could happen for you.
Who, me?
You can do anything if you try. The most impossible dream can come true. If you believe it, this is my kind of town. It's as clear as the nose on your face. Wow, this is the time. This is the place. This is the time. This must be the place, Hollywood, where the streets are paved with gold, where the kiddies never grow. In Hollywood.
He was famous for a TV show at the time, and I can't remember.
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. And so he had fans grabbing at him all the time where they recognized his face. But we were the only ones who, I think I got through to him and said, no, 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 we're working on Cats Don't Dance. It's wonderful. And then he's kind of warmed
Yeah.
up for a half a second and moved on.
Yeah.
Scott Bakula, I don't know what he's done lately, but he sure could sing a song. And,
Oh,
and,
and
he made it.
scat. He can scat.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he really sings. And he scats. He's not just a little bit of a singer. He's a really, very, really excellent jazz singer who can scat. Oh my God.
So he made a
Who knew?
great lead. The lead character in this animation is Danny the song and dance cat, and an old-fashioned hoofer and singer.
Yeah.
And so he was well cast, and he did a wonderful job.
Yeah. And then Jasmine Guy does the female lead. The singing is Natalie Cole.
Of whom we are both enamored.
Yeah.
Or were. She's passed as well.
Yeah, and she came in briefly on the ADR stage to do a little bit of work, and I found her to be, because I did some ADR shooting on this and editing, I found her to be the epitome of class and elegance and cooperation. I was so impressed with her cooperation and elegance,
Professionalism.
professionalism, and what a lady.
Yeah.
And when you were nominated for your Oscar and we'd gotten to know David, oh gosh, we talked with he and his wife, David. Oh gosh, this is going to haunt me now. I'll think of the name.
Foster?
Foster, thank you. Hello. Hey.
I don't know where that came from. I forgot it for a moment too.
And he had been working with her and said she was the absolute best person to work with. I agree.
Yeah, well, she comes from good stock.
Yeah.
And her her uncle's still performing.
Yes, Freddie.
He came and performed in Savannah, and I saw him, and he was wonderful.
Oh, you're so lucky. So the experience on that show, just from everything, of course, once again, we're talking about the magic of working with animators and a very hands-on, approachable, terrific producer in Jim Katz. And for people who don't know this, it's unusual for a producer to be that approachable, easy to work with, supportive, kind, and funny.
Yeah.
And then working with some of the voice talent that I got to work with as an ADR group leader and editor, in addition to the Foley person. And then we'll get to in a minute why it didn't get promoted, but there was some really interesting sound effect possibilities. First off, I have to say, having to do Foley for a lot of animal feet and walking styles that were unusual with Rick Partlow and Rick Sanchez and me, because they took turns having to partner with me at night, because we worked at night. We were working on some stuff during the day at a different studio. Having to do penguin feet and cat feet and the piano playing
Elephant.
well, was he an elephant or he was
William Mammoth.
Mammoth?
Yeah, he played piano with each of his hands the size of a watermelon. You play piano that way.
Oh, yeah.
Great characters.
And Tilly.
Yep.
Yeah.
The hippo who,
The hippo.
when she leaned back to relax against the diner after the song Tell Me Lies was over, the whole frickin' diner moves 10 feet. And we made sound effects for that, of course. Listen, I've got a whole bunch of notes about scenes in which we had fun making sound effects. Sometimes I have a question mark whether some of it was part Foley, part sound effects.
Okay.
Because that's really getting into the weeds with how a sound is created.
Perfect.
But suffice to say, I had when I was working a great affinity with animators and animation directors, how they tell their story, how they exaggerate, how they time the moves of the characters.
Yeah.
So I know where to put in a sound effect and how much to make of it in the mix. The corollary to that is this is a musical, and we can't have sound effects in music fighting for dominance in the track.
Yeah.
And you don't want the professional sound mixers in post-production, re-recording mixers, to have a tough time. You want to make it easy for them to do a good job and look good. So one would often wait for a break between bars of music to where that's where the good big sound effect goes. And I guess not ironically, that is sometimes timed by the animators in the same way that I would time it for sound effects. So it would all come together. Sometimes it's a really big sound effect. I'm just remembering when Tilly slugs the goat man, the goat
who is Hal Holbrook.
Hal Holbrook's voice. He was wonderful. And I always thought he looked like Senator Grassley.
And the turtle who's Don Knotts.
Who's Don Knotts.
Yeah.
The whole cast list, I mean, these are small parts as far as aging movie stars recording their parts. They can get it done in an hour and a half. George Kennedy, buddy. Anyway, I'm very concerned with where the sound effects go. And if it's an animated musical, you don't want to make a mess. And so everything has to feel like the right time and the right place to put a big sound, or when to use a small sound, when to use a comical sound, like from Warner Brothers or Hanna-Barbera cartoon sound effects library. I don't go anywhere near those. I said this when we talked about Goofy. When it's a scene that's supposed to be touching or dramatic, I don't go anywhere near cartoon effects. You're just going to blow the whole thing wide open, but you sure can have fun. When I was talking about when Tilly slugged Cranston, the goat, the one that looks like Senator Grassley. Especially now, looks exactly like, sounds a little like him too. But that was Hal Holbrook's genius, because he did it as Mark Twain for years on the stage. When she slugs him, it's just one exaggerated extreme drawing frame where his jaw is out of place by 1.5 feet. And I sunk up, I think it was an anvil hit and some other very heavy, low end and metallic sounding clanks. And it's just a tiny fraction of a second, but it's effective. When you have something to say with sound effects like that, you better find the right piece of music and animation to fit it in. And I think that we did an effective job that way.
I think maybe at this point we should mention that the songs are by, drumroll, Randy Newman.
Randy Newman, the great Randy Newman. And as you pointed out,
Well, at least in discussions with you and anyone I can talk to.
He should have had an Academy Award for these songs, and he didn't.
Because, which we'll get into, the movie did not get any promotion. Nobody did anything for it, much worse than what happened with the Goofy movie, a Goofy movie, which we talked about. Time Warner had bought Turner Animation, Turner Feature Animation, did nothing. They basically just quashed it. And so Randy Newman was nominated every year, except this year. And one of the best songs he ever wrote is in this film called Tell Me Lies that Natalie sings in the most poignant time where where Sawyer walks out into the rain wanting to believe that anything Danny tells her, she'll wants to believe it because she wants to hang on to a dream. And it's one of the most beautiful songs that Randy Newman, the ever cynical, funny songwriter ever wrote.
I never believed that there was a rainbow with a pot of gold at the end. I'm much too smart for fairy tales like that. Yet here I am again. I thought this time we're gonna make it. Why I thought so, I really don't know. Maybe something in his eyes just told me so. Something in his eyes tell me lies, and I'll come running. I must have lost my mind. I could close my eyes and tell you just exactly what's coming. Life's gonna turn just a little unkind. Seems like everyone's sailing way out on the sea. I'm stuck here on the shore. Sun's always shining, but it's never for me. Why should I try anymore? Tell me lies, tell me lies. I'll just keep right on coming. This time I've got to believe in the dream. This time I've got to believe in his
I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, had that song been nominated, My Heart Will Go On from Titanic wouldn't stand a chance to have won.
No, absolutely. And that song, not
It's
surprising,
heartbreaking.
not surprising from Newman. It's a great blues ballad. It's bluesy. It's a sad ballad. It's jazz music. It's quite wonderful. And she was a great singer.
And I remember when we were working on it, saying to everyone, this will get the Academy Award.
Yeah, and
Because,
well,
of
it should
course,
have done.
silly me, having only been in the business at that point a little under 20 years doing Foley, I thought, well, of course they're going to know this film. And of course, with the great Natalie Cole, they're going to get this song nominated. And how can this not win? And then, of course, they shot themselves in the foot by not believing in this film, which was a wonderful film with one of the greatest songwriters and one of the greatest singers. And they talk about, I am not going to waste my shot.
You know,
it was Randy's best song.
I think, had it been nominated, the song would have become a production number on the Oscar broadcast.
Yeah.
That would have exposed the song and the movie to everybody. Yeah. And speaking as an Academy member, if you don't see the movie, you ain't voting for it. And people did not see it. Yeah. So it does need a revival life, if that's possible, if people who listen to this could just find it somewhere, see it.
Well, you can see it free on Tubi, or pay $3 on a lot of the services. And I'm on a mission. The reason I decided, since we had the 30th for a Goofy movie this year, which was worth it, and we all love Kevin and we all love the movie, this film deserves to be brought out again. Mm-hmm. And because I was on Turner Classic Movies with Ben Mankiewicz talking about Foley and doing Mad About the Musical, and I did the film festival in 2018, and because Turner does a lot of stuff with their films, I am making it my personal mission to get people to see Cats Don't Dance. And you tell me, does this film need to be brought out again? And do these people need to hear these songs? And do people need to, once again, try to remember what a great songwriter Randy Newman is, because he's getting up there? And do we need to try to remember that? Oh, I want to just mention, anyone who loves musicals has watched Schmigadoon and Schmicago. And Cinco Paul, who wrote those shows, had his first writing assignment on, drumroll, Cats Don't Dance with Mark Dindal. This was his first job, was writing on Cats Don't Dance. And he and several other people have huge careers now with their first job being Cats Don't Dance. Mark went on to have a great career. Cats Don't Dance was his first job. Cats Don't Dance set the careers for a lot of people. And because of idiotic suits who did not know what they had, they didn't promote a film that would have gotten them several Oscars. And I want to mention that Mark Dindal and Randy Newman got the Annies for directing and for the songs. So
that comes from the animation community.
Right.
And it's a very important award within them. And it's good that they were recognized that way.
But Time Warner bought Turner Animation and said, well, we're not going to promote this or even put money into it because we have Warner Brothers Animation. So we don't need another animation company. So never mind. And they never did another thing. And that's the way the politics work. We talked about the politics about Goofy Movie. The politics is always the stupid part. We could someday do the politics of what happened on Dracula, Dave. There's another story, but I've written about it in my book, Divergent Tracks. I wrote about it, but we should talk about that one.
But listen, success of anything in the media depends on, almost accidentally, on a perfect balance between the power of art, technology, and business.
Exactly.
So in this case, it was a great achievement in terms of art. Nothing high tech about it, but they certainly did. It was cell animation, was it not? I
Yes,
don't think
there's
there
a
were no
tiny,
computer.
there are a couple of things in the background that I'm not sure were cell, but
Yeah.
that was the other selling point. The Turner feature animation. I mean, we are talking about the great Ted Turner, who was a visionary and a futurist, that they wanted so much to keep cell animation going. And you come from animation. That's
Yeah.
what you started at Hanna-Barbera. Want to remind everybody that
But in this,
Dave knows a bit about animation, and this Cats Don't Dance is cell animation.
what I used to tell is art, technology, and business, it has a perfect triangle, and very often one of those legs of the triangle is longer or shorter than the others. In this case, business concerns are what kept them from publicizing this movie. They made the movie, they paid for it. I guess it was in theaters for a while. I don't know. I don't look things like that up very well. But yeah, it's pretty much forgotten. And you know, any movie fan, if you watch Eddie Muller on Noir Alley,
Yeah.
TCM, you hear a lot about some films that were just kind of disappeared, didn't get promoted, were lost for years. You know, the nonprofits like his can restore an old film and bring it back and show it in special venues and on television. So movie history is full of stuff that's lost. And this is one of them that just didn't make it through the business gate. And it's too bad. But we're here to tell anybody who's listening to go and have a look at it.
I want you
And
to
you
talk
said,
a little bit about and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm looking at the notes that you sent me.
yeah,
We need to talk about Darla Dimple.
let's.
And not only the character of Darla Dimple, which is hysterical, but
Mhm.
Darla Dimple and Max and some of the sound effects thing you did for this, because you did stuff for Her House, the Big and Loud number,
Yeah.
the reprise, the arc, the way she sabotaged the animals. There was a lot of sound effecty stuff going on in there.
Well, I'm just scanning my notes just for the name Darla because I identified scenes that way.
Darla Dimple.
What a great character.
Based on the idea of Shirley Temple, only if Shirley Temple were devious and evil.
Yeah, which if she did not have that reputation. We should say that.
Shirley Temple was adored and wonderful to work with, and everybody loved working with Shirley Temple.
And even as an aging lady, she had a lot of respect, and
She was a wonderful human being.
She had a lot of class. So if she had been a horrible little bitch when she was a child star, Darla Dimple is what she would have been. The first big number with Darla, I think, is her little arc, her little boat number.
Da, 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 da.
It's a great sort of show tune that's almost a parody of show tunes. And music dominates that scene. Of course, it's a Randy Newman piece, and there's his dark humor.
Now the people, they were so bad that the Lord made the rain come down. And he washed away their bad cities, and he washed away their bad towns, and all of the people drowned. With the animals it was different, though some of them drowned too. The others were just poor animals, and they didn't know what
meow, mama, meow, mama, meow.
In my little boat on the sea.
About the boat on the sea, meow, mama, 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 meow, mama, meow, meow, meow on the sea.
Hilariously funny, I think, the way this cute little girl talks about the animals drowning with a smile. With a smile. So there are a few select moments for us to put in hard sound, what I call hard effects. That is, sound effects that will cut through the mix and will cut through the music. But we don't want to clutter it and make it sound like a bad Hanna-Barbera mix from the 70s. Then on her temper tantrum, after Danny screws up the little arc number.
What the animators do, what Scott Bakula does to try to make himself present in that number is hysterical.
When she has this temper tantrum, dialogue has to dominate those sequences of animation. It has to dominate. So we don't want to get sound effects in the way. So what I do then is look for moments there where there are extreme animation poses. If you study animation, you know that they design extreme poses when the character is moving. In one, where their body and their face are stretched appropriately to the gag that's going on. Those are called extremes. And then the other animators fill in the drawings that go in between those extremes.
Yeah.
And that's where you can put a hard sound effect, and it's easy to mix. She swings on a rope on the stage. Everything gets out of control. She's hanging on the ropes and cables and swinging back and forth. And at one point, she swings into a crowd of the crew and all the characters that represent crew. And I throw in a Stearman biplane in a diving sequence, like from an old movie, that the typical airplane diving sound. Then right after that, she hits this crowd of people, and we have to have a bowling ball striking the pins. That's all still in there. The mixing boys let it stay, and you can hear it. And that brings to mind that animators and sound effects designers commonly, they have this in common. There's one reason I loved working with animation as a sound effects guy, because it's metaphor. Metaphor gets the laughs.
Right.
She hits them like a bowling ball striking the pins. She swings into them like a dive bomber in a 1930s movie. It's metaphor, and that's why people laugh.
Right.
They just feel that in the gut. So Max comes in. Max is her giant bodyguard.
And it's
25.
an homage to Max from Sunset Boulevard.
Is that right? That guy's name was Max?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that Norma Desmond was married to and now is her protector. And he Yeah.
Okay. So he comes in. He's 25 feet tall and walks right through the wall.
Miss Dimple.
And that's Mark Dindal's voice.
Yes.
And it was enhanced a little by
it's treated
by the mixers, of course, to be a little bit lower. His footsteps. Now we're not talking about Foley here, if you don't mind. Max's footsteps, each one is like a pile driver. Vanessa can't do that in Foley.
Oh.
So those are hard sound effects for each footstep, because Mark had the animation shaking the whole stage with each footstep because he's huge. And then we have the mixers enhance it even further. They have low frequency enhancement tools. So I give them a big pile driver type sound effect for each footfall. Then they run that through their enhancement circuitry, and the frequency is even lower. So let's see, we talked about those Darla sound effects, Max entering. Max has very few dialogue lines, but Mark Dindal really made that character the way he wanted it to sound. I don't think he could have coached any actor to do it the way he wanted to do it. And that's another thing, Vanessa. Often animation directors, I'm not accusing Mark of this because he had some great talent doing the other voices.
Mm-hmm.
And professional actors who had more experience than he did. He was a relatively young man when we made this movie. But a lot of, in my experience, a lot of animation directors give line readings
Right.
to the actors that were hired. And as an actor, you know, they hate that.
Yeah.
They hate it.
Yeah.
I had a recording once from something Disney did where the great John Goodman was reading his lines, and I have this unedited tape. I don't have it anymore. I heard it on my machine. It's very much like the famous Orson Welles recording with the frozen food commercial.
I take directions from one person under protest, but from two I don't sit still. But who the hell are you anyway?
No, I'm the engineer.
Well, why the hell are you asking me for another one?
Well, I thought there was a slight bonk, and I would just like to be safe.
Jesus. What is a gonk? You mind telling me what that is?
No, a bang from outside.
A bang from outside.
Norway. Fish fingers, Findus, Norway. We know a certain fjord in Norway, near where the cod gather in great shoals. There, Jan Stangeland. Shit.
Fraction more on that shoals thing, because you rolled it around very nicely.
Yeah, roll it around and I have no more time. You don't know what I'm up against. Because it's full of things that are only correct because they're grammatical, but they're tough on the ear. You see, this is a very wearying one. It's unpleasant to read. Unrewarding. Because Findus freeze the cod at sea and then add a crumb crisp coating. That's tough, crumb crisp coating. I think, no, because of the way it's written, you need to break it up because it's not as conversationally written. What?
Take crumb out.
Take crumb out. Good. Here under protest is beef burgers. We know a little place in the American Far West where Charlie Briggs chops up the finest prairie-fed beef and tastes. This is a lot of shit, you know that. You want one more?
Yeah,
more on what, beef?
You missed the first beef, actually, completely.
What do you mean missed it?
You're emphasizing prairie-fed.
But you can't emphasize beef. That's like his wanting me to emphasize in before July. Come on, fellas, you're losing your heads. I wouldn't direct any living actor like this in Shakespeare. Well, you do this. It's impossible.
Orson, you did 6 last year, and by far and away the best, and I know the reason.
The right reading for this is the one I'm giving it.
At the moment.
I spent 20 times more for you people than any other commercial I've ever made. You are such pests. Now, what is it you want?
No, I think...
In your depths of your ignorance, what is it you want? Whatever it is you want, I can't deliver because I just don't see it.
That was absolutely fine. It really was.
It isn't worth it. No money is worth it.
Where he gets
In July.
Yeah, and wrinkles up a script and walks off mic.
No
You
money
can
is
tell he's
worth
leaving the
this.
room. This was John Goodman. They were coaching him to be something. I think it was yet another remake of The Jungle Book. Anyway, he got really pissed and walked off. I don't know if he stayed on the job or not, but that's what they do. They give a great actor a line reading, and they expect, they being the less experienced animation director, they expect the great actor to mimic me, the animation director, and say it my way, and they don't give him any room. Now, this is where I'm sure Dindal, and we know Kevin Lima, and some of the other guys that you and I met from Disney TV animation did not screw with the actors' professionalism. But some would do that.
Yeah.
They give them line readings.
That's the one thing you never do with an actor. Never, ever, ever. And I remember the one time being in a play with a woman.
Say it this way.
Who kept, I'm going to say the name of the play, Anne of the Thousand Days, and I was Anne. She didn't bother at all telling Henry how to say a line, but I think she saw herself as Anne, even though she was in her 50s and I was 20. And she kept telling me how to say the line and how to walk and everything.
Oh, God.
And I was so tense, and I was trying to please, but I knew I was failing, even though I was far more talented than she ever thought of herself. And the one thing you never do is give a line reading. First off, you never are arrogant enough to think that your line reading is the only possible way of going, but also you just cause somebody to short circuit because they can't be you. So you just never ever think that your way of hearing a line is the right way or the only way, and it is the most diminishing, demoralizing thing you can do. And the one thing you learn in directing 101 and acting 101 is never give a line reading.
That's right.
So thankfully, it only happened to me with one director, and it was in a really important role, and I never pleased her because her line readings were really dumb, and they were so bad. Her ideas were so bad, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, always. I'm always past that.
You are.
Yes. Well, that's about where I say in July.
Could you emphasize a bit in July?
Why? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. There's no known way of saying an English sentence in which you begin a sentence with in and emphasize it. Get me a jury and show me how you can say in July, and I'll go down on you. That's just idiotic, if you'll forgive me by saying so. That's just stupid. In July. I'd love to know how you emphasize in July. Impossible. Meaningless.
I've seen 'em come and I've seen 'em go. There's one thing that I know. You gotta give the people what they want, or you'll wind up back in Kokomo, Nebraska.
Indiana, Miss Dimple.
Whatever.